Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know why I think these Democrats are losing all credibility? It's the boy who cried wolf phenomenon. They just don't have any new tactics. It's always the same thing, the same response. Anytime Donald Trump does anything, it's always an evil authoritarian power grab. Anything he says is always proof of his fascism. Any challenge to his decisions or what he's standing for is always a constitutional crisis. It's the same frickin' tired old played out crap over and over again. And now here we go again. The media is having a full-blown meltdown because Donald Trump dared to suggest that maybe, just maybe, taxpayers shouldn't be forced to fund the left's propaganda outlets. That's NPR and PBS, state-funded media that's supposed to be neutral, trusted, just providing a basic service to people. Well, we know what's happened. They've become arms of the Democrat Party, cloaked in the phony aesthetic of neutrality. And now Donald Trump's coming for their budget. He feels as though he has a fiduciary duty to do so, and all of a sudden, it's an attack on the free press, a constitutional crisis, a threat to the Constitution. Holy frickin' moly, I have a headache. Let's go over some of the arguments being made in the media by these desperate buffoons, and then of course insert some basic common sense into the conversation. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so once again with this absolutely idiotic nonsense, here we've got Jonathan Capehart, who apparently thinks reciting buzzwords counts as an argument.
We did see President Trump issue this executive order directing that federal funding should be cut for NPR and PBS. He's alleging bias in the reporting. And it is, as we've seen, the latest move by the president to use executive power and the leaves of government to target institutions, media, cultural, academic, that he disagrees with. What do you make of the president's moves at this time? Not just about PBS. This is not just about us. It's part of a larger campaign here.
Yeah, it is a fundamental attack on our Constitution, on the foundation of this country. People need to understand and remember, there is only one profession that is protected in the Constitution, and it is the free press. It is the press. And why? Because the founders understood that the survival of a democracy depends on an informed citizenry. And the citizenry can only be informed by a press that can report and report on the affairs of the republic free and unfettered. And whether they are, come from the left or from the right, the government should not interfere with that reporting. And so when you have a president of the United States who is making it his mission to attack the free press, we should all be concerned whether we are at PBS or whether we are at MSNBC, because he's focused on us too.
Okay, so let's stop right there. The Constitution protects a free press from government interference. That's basically the premise. It doesn't protect the press or certain press outlets from losing government subsidies. I mean, this guy seems to be making the argument that free press means free money from the taxpayer. If you criticize PBS's funding, then you're violating some sacred tradition, violating the right of the free press, and denying and defying the Constitution. How completely idiotic is that? And actually, ironically enough, he seems to be making the actual opposite argument that I think he's trying to. He's claiming that Donald Trump and the government shouldn't be interfering with the free press and interfering with journalism, but that's exactly what's currently happening. The big leftist state is funding PBS and NPR, which is creating a culture that skews heavily to the left, and I think I'm being very generous when I say skews to the left, because there is no right at NPR or PBS, it's only left. But yeah, the claim is that Donald Trump is attempting to interfere with the free press and journalism, but it's quite the opposite. He wants them to be an independent firm, to operate absolutely freely without government interference. But of course, they don't want to have that conversation, no, because instead of making an actual, real, good faith argument, just like the fake news leftist drones that they are, they engage in dishonest fear-mongering. Here's another example.
I think there's a bigger theory of the case here, which isn't about Harvard or PBS or NPR or any of the other myriad places that he has directed his ire. The theory of the case is this. He does not like independence. Anything that takes away from his center of power, he is trying to challenge and destroy. And that is Harvard, that is PBS and NPR, and that is other institutions as well. And this you see over and over and over with him. That is the through thread. I'm not denying that There's a crisis of confidence in institutions writ large in this country, all of them, left and right, center. But that's not really what he's up to. He's not trying to redress that. He's not trying to say, hey, Harvard, be more open to the people. He's actually threatening their very independence. He's taking away money from them for the things that they do, such as research. And PBS and NPR, I mean, when you ask about whether or not this is legal, I mean, the money is given through the Congress. I mean, this is the way this is supposed to work. We've seen President Trump over and over and over again write these decrees as if they're sort of royal decrees, and we haven't seen legislation. If you want to make this happen, take your chances in Congress. Try to pass a law. Talk to your senators and your congresspeople and see if that can happen. Just signing something in a document doesn't make it so.
That was Lulu Garcia Navarro chiming in on the issue on CNN, and she comes to the conclusion that actually the reason that Donald Trump wants to defund these institutions is because it takes away from his center of power. It's just so stupid. I mean, firstly, I'm asking myself, what power? Are we really going to make the argument that PBS and NPR are viewed as a threat to Donald Trump's power? What a ridiculous claim. No, simply Donald Trump is trying to do the right thing. He sees PBS and NPR for what they are. It's not about power, it's about not forcing taxpayers to bankroll a biased media machine. These outlets didn't cover Democrat failure with any seriousness. They didn't scrutinize the Democrats during the pandemic. They didn't question the border disaster. They weren't adversarial to the Biden regime at the time. But when Trump's in office, when Trump's running to become president, it's non-stop negative coverage. They exist to manufacture consent for the liberal elite. And again, this isn't about silencing them. It's about refusing to pay them. It's an ethical issue, actually. It's not an issue of power or preserving Donald Trump's center of power. It's about fairness. Why should the American taxpayer be forced to fund an outlet that is clearly aligned with one political ideology and routinely seems to attack and disrespect half the country? Trump is right. But of course, every time Donald Trump does something that's logical, fiscally responsible, or just plain common sense, these media hacks lose their freaking minds and always do the same thing, try to repackage it as an attack, an authoritarian power grab, or a constitutional crisis. It's the same thing every time. Cut taxpayer funding to a biased government media outlet, authoritarianism. Enforce immigration laws that are already on the book, fascism. Give me a freaking break. What Trump's doing here is not tyranny, it's actually budgeting. If you want to be political activists, sure, fine, you have the freedom to do so, but you shouldn't be able to do it on taxpayers' dime and then cry oppression like Jim Acosta when the funding dries up. And obviously these people know this. They know that they're on the losing side of this issue, and that right there is the reason why they never argue based on the merits, because they know that they'd lose. They can't defend the bias. They can't defend the fact that they have 0 Republicans or conservatives on their editorial boards. They can't defend the one-sided coverage or the fake news that they've peddled, and they certainly can't explain why millions of Americans should be forced to subsidize their crap. So instead they retreat into their typical tactic of spreading fear, right? Fearmonger. Not making an actual argument, but rather just bringing the buzzwords. Attack on democracy, center of power, unprecedented threat, unconstitutional, attacking the free press. It's all they have left. It's the boy who cried wolf. And you know what? To a certain extent, it used to work. But at this point, nobody buys this crap anymore. People are tuning this stuff out. Let's call it media outrage fatigue. Americans just went through 4 years of Biden disaster. Life is a whole lot more difficult. Crime has skyrocketed, the debt is skyrocketing, and you got Donald Trump trying to make cuts, and he's got PBS and NPR locked in his focus, and with good reason. And now these media hacks expect people to simply accept that cutting PBS funding and NPR funding is somehow a great threat to the republic. People got bigger fish to fry. They got bigger issues. And Trump's move to defund NPR and PBS is one of the most reasonable proposals he's made. And I'm not saying that to imply that a lot of the stuff that he's done is unreasonable. I'm just saying it's literally common sense. It's extremely reasonable. I just don't see how anybody could argue the opposite side. And that's why, well, they're not. Instead, they're engaging in these dishonest and sick tactics. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.